All right.
All right, folks. I cannot believe it. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Good vibes to you all. I am super excited today. This is my first big celebrity interview. I've
Oh
been
my
pretty
gosh.
jumpy. My stomach has been jumpy. I've been to the bathroom a bunch of times. My
Oh
coworkers are like, who are you talking to? I was telling them I was going to do this interview Friday, and they wanted to know who it was, and I told them, and blah blah blah, and I was like, she's not interested in you, so don't even
my God. Anthony.
whatever you.
Oh my gosh. So mean.
No,
So mean.
no, but it's
Okay, but this
it's
is,
all.
I hear you. This is your platform. They can miss me on that whole thing. Like, yo, this is my time with Dawn. So I get it.
Yes,
I
yeah,
get it.
that's what I felt
And
like.
I
I was
feel
like, no,
honored.
no, we're not. I'm not asking certain things, and I'm not like putting a pitch in for anybody. So what I
Yes.
want to do is keep it kind of loose. I want to talk a lot about we were saying before I started recording
Mm-hmm.
about how you think, right? And I like
Yeah.
people that have big ideas and think outside the box and are moving. So I want to talk about glam. I want to talk about
Mm-hmm.
stiletto entertainment. I want to talk about, yes, I have done my research. And I brought this for you. I saw this last week. I go to the 99-cent store every Saturday because I'm vegan
Yes.
now. They have a lot
I'm
of really
always
great.
there too.
So I got this. I saw this and thought about you, and
Hmm.
I bought it. And my husband was trying to eat it. I was like, no, that's for a project I'm working on. So put that down. So can you
Oh
see
my
what it says?
God. I can't see. The light is too bright, and all
Okay, let
I
me
see is
turn.
bright white.
Oh,
No.
you still can't see it?
Be a mermaid and make waves. That's me.
Yes. I saw that. I said, I'm going to get that and show it to her
Oh,
in the interview.
wait a minute. I'm going to go to the 99-cent store today. I
Do they
mean,
have
because
them in Vegas?
they put all the, yes, because they
Okay,
put all this stuff for Valentine's Day is out now because it's trying to get rid of it.
right.
That's probably why you found that. So I swear to you, if I find it, I'm gonna hit you on your page, take a picture of it, and send it to you.
Okay.
Yes.
I got it last Saturday. It was the only one they had. And at first I wasn't going to get it. And I said, no, I need to get it. And I'm going to hold it up in
Yes,
the
that's
interview.
so perfect. I wish you would have told me because I would have went and looked for it too. I was just there the other day, because my mother likes their almond milk,
That's what I
um,
buy. The
their
cashew
brand.
milk, the spinach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the oat milk. They have oat milk too now.
Do they?
Oat.
Okay.
Yes, the same brand
Wow.
in the 99 cents. So, they have it in regular grocery stores too, but
Right.
she likes their brand. And I just went
Wow.
there to
Okay.
find her some almond milk, and I didn't look for anything for Valentine's Day, so I will go. Thank you.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
me. I am a mermaid. I make waves.
Making
Yes, I
waves.
do.
Yes.
Heck yeah.
So, okay. So, I want to talk a little
Mhm.
bit about what I usually do is start off and have people give a 30-second bio, but you've done so much. So, a 30-second bio would not cut it. So, I will let you do your bio before I launch into some questions. So, without
Yes.
further ado, give us your bio. Tell us where you started.
Well, I started in the group EnVogue.
Mhm.
Before that, I was just doing some local stuff in Oakland, California, just trying to meet people and do session work and stuff like that. I really wasn't old enough to do the clubs and stuff. So
Mhm.
by the time I was 19, I was doing a couple of clubs, but I was mostly doing stuff in the studio with local people. And then I found out that there was an audition. I was at a concert. This guy just randomly asked me if I was a model because I thought he was trying to pick up on me, but I was mistaken.
All right.
He was trying to tell me, my friends have an audition. I think you have a good look. So
Mhm.
go hang out, come to this audition. And I went to the audition and I got in the group. Needless to say, they loved my voice. They loved all the girls together. Our blend
Mhm.
was amazing.
Mhm.
So I started out in EnVogue. That was my first professional career move. What an incredible start. Like, come on. If you're gonna do a girl group, that was the one to start in,
Yes.
and I'm grateful for that. There's a lot of great groups that came after us, but we were the ones who set the foundation.
Mhm.
In 1990, we came out with Hold On. And then by 97, I started waking up, and really by 92, I was like, okay, where's the money? Really,
Oh.
where's the money? So I started waking up and asking too many questions. They got pissed at me. They
Mhm.
kicked me out of the group by 97. I was gone. And then Lucy Pearl came along, and that was a great situation as well. Um, again, another group, another, not as big as EnVogue. We didn't have the big machine behind Lucy Pearl like we needed. I think that we were over before we got started, but it was only supposed to be 1 year. I didn't what you call redline my contract with Raphael the way that I did with EnVogue.
Okay.
So that was on my bad. That was really on my mistake, because I was professional enough to know better, but I didn't do better. In other words, I didn't redline that contract the way that I was supposed to, because I trusted Raphael. We've known each other since we were 16. He played in my band. We were both these little 16-year-old kids in a band. And so I just trusted that everything was going to be okay. And that what he said to me in the beginning, that he'd have my back, was he was going to keep his word. And he did not. So yeah, that's my bio. I did all of those things, but I've also done like the FUBU compilation. I did a song called Envious that was on that compilation. I did the soundtrack for Dr. Dolittle. That was also, excuse me, my manager sending messages. The Dr. Dolittle soundtrack, I think I did for that one. And I'm saying I think because I forget which songs were on which soundtracks, believe it or not. But I think for that one I did Rock Steady, Aretha Franklin's song. I redid Miss Riri. Yes.
Yeah, that was on that soundtrack.
Exactly.
I remember when it
Okay,
came
good.
out. Yeah.
Right. And then I did. Also for the movie Life, I did a song called "Drop Me Off in Harlem" by Ella Fitzgerald, and that was a real extraordinary experience, because I hate that it didn't go on the soundtrack for the movie Life, the movie Life, with Martin Lawrence and I was gonna say Dr. Dre, with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. But it didn't go on the soundtrack, and that was such a great song. I learned a lot, and I loved Ella before this. I loved, you know, all the standards, the Nat King Cole's and Louis Armstrong's and Sarah Vaughan's of the world. But I did not understand the way that they recorded was they had the whole orchestra in the room behind them while they sang live on this big, huge microphone, you know, much bigger than the ones we use today or current microphones. And when I got to the recording studio, I'm thinking I'm going to go in a booth, put on the headphones in an isolation booth, and record the way that we typically do. And the director of the movie, Ted Demme, said, God rest his soul, he passed away, but he was like, no, you're going in the studio and you're going to have, you're going in the room, this big, huge room in the studio, and you're going to record with the orchestra behind you. Huh? What? Today? He was like, yeah. All these people, like 50 people behind me, strings. Oh yeah. Timpani drums, violins. When I say strings, that's what I mean. And I mean live strings. This is no synthesizer strings. This is the real deal. And he said horn sections, the brass section, piano in the room, grand piano, not some baby grand or small regular. Yeah, it was very impressive, but it was intimidating. And I said, so how are they going to hear me over all of this? Because I can't hear myself when I'm talking, and they're warming up. And he's like, no, they're going to play easy for you. And you're going to be up loud enough. You still have your headphones on and you'll hear yourself in the headphones. But I'm like, but that's going to bleed into the microphone. All that stuff is going through my mind. He said, no, Dawn, we have it down. So when I put the headphones on, he said, take one ear off so you can hear what's in the headphones in one ear, and then take the other headphone and put it behind your head. Huh? And so I could hear the music inside here, and I could hear myself through this side, but then I heard the music in the room without taking, so I uncovered my ear and I could hear, and it was incredible. So Drop Me Off in Harlem. And there's a certain technique to singing that all of the greats had back then. Each generation of singers has their own thing. I've recognized that as well. So I think now we've come back around to that technique of singing. We're real fast vibrato. Drop me off. You have to shake your vibrato off in holler. Someone waiting there. It's like you gotta jump your vibrato really fast. And I learned that on the spot. Like I had learned the song, but I didn't know how to use my vibrato, and it just kind of came out and flowed with the music. Beautiful. So I know you asked me something, I jumped around a bunch of times, but
No,
those
that's
are the things that I've done. You asked me what
okay.
I've done and what my star was, and that was part of it.
That was fine. No, it's funny. I moved to New York years ago, and I wanted to sing. I wanted to be a
Okay.
singer, and so I moved to New York. I had no money. I was like, I'm gonna make this happen. I
Yes.
moved to New York, and I literally had $300 in my pocket, no place to live, and I was like, I'm gonna make this happen.
Wow.
Joined the band the next day, started learning how to work with a band and with accompaniment, and then
Exactly.
did this show. Had to learn how to work with musicians and other singers,
Mm,
and you're listening for a lot of different things, like your cue, where you come in and where you lay
absolutely.
back, and your 8 bars and all this stuff. So I just brought that up because I think a lot of times I feel like when I listen to you, when I hear your voice, I'm
Hmm.
always interested in not only what inspires people, but what influenced them. And I can hear a lot of different things in your voice.
Oh,
And
wow.
I don't know if that's why other people are drawn to you. That's where one of the reasons I'm drawn to you is I
Yes.
can literally, and it's not that I'm being critical, but I can listen to it. It's like the song that you did, all of Lucy Pearl to me. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, they're doing Rufus, and she's clearly Shaka Khan, and then I was like, and
What? Oh my God, Anthony, get
especially
out of
when you and
here.
Raphael would blend together, like on Good Love and
Yes.
Every Day. I was like, oh, okay, that's Rufus. Like,
Oh my God. No, we did
uh,
not set, that is
yeah,
not what we set out to do. But if
yeah,
you hear that, that is
yeah,
amazing. Wow. Wow.
yeah.
Thank you for that. But so go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
Cut
no.
you
So
off.
I just, I remember, and it always amazes me what people know about the history of music or performing, or like not knowing what came before, or not being able to say, okay, like when I saw, like when you were with EnVogue and then you left and did Lucy Pearl, and then
Yes.
the cover of it, and I have a CD in my car. I've gone through a couple of copies. The cover
Okay.
of it, when I saw,
Wow.
with the hat and everything, I was like, oh, it looked like a throwback to the 70s. And then when I heard the music and the harmonies,
Oh my
and I was like,
goodness.
it's kind of like, it's along the lines of what you did with EnVogue was great.
Hmm.
Everybody's tried to do that. I haven't heard it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you guys had this 4 part, and you knew like where to cut. I don't know, I'm not explaining it, but it was
No,
almost
it's
like you
okay.
guys
You
set the mold
explaining.
for it, right? And you could
Yes.
also tell that it was very produced. Like they wanted, it was a
Yes.
certain sound. Like somebody got you guys together. It was like, okay, we're looking for this. And you guys, and I've heard you say that in interviews, you kind of stepped into something that was already, it was somebody else's vision, and they found you guys and they said, okay, this will work. And to me,
Yes.
it felt like when you got into Lucy Pearl, it was like Rufus. It was kind of like, it was like a big pot of gumbo, right? Okay, I'm gonna
Mm.
bring this part, I'm gonna bring this,
Hmm.
I'm gonna bring this, and some kind of
Wow.
way, magically, deliciously, this is gonna work. So when I
Yeah.
heard it, I was like, yeah, that makes. When I heard it, I, I didn't know that you had been put out of the group. I was telling
Hmm.
everybody, I was like, oh, she had enough, and she just decided, I want to do, I want to break out and do some. I want to write songs. I want to do
No.
things that were more. There were a lot of grooves in that record. There were a lot of like, and I remember I was living in Harlem when that album came out, and I remember being in this Greasy Spoon. I'll never forget this. And
Hmm.
Dance Tonight came on the radio.
Oh, wow.
And the woman who ran the shop, she was this older woman, black woman. She was doing all the soul food, and her
Uh-huh.
granddaughter was in there, and her
Right.
granddaughter sang the line about, right there, I see you looking, and she did the
Uh-huh.
tooken, and I was looking, she was a little girl, and I was like, there it is. I was like, this.
Wow.
I was like, because this little girl was singing this song, and I thought, what do you know about
Exactly.
tooken?
Exactly.
But it let me know that, okay, this is something. This is not just people singing. You know what I mean? It's like this group is.
Exactly.
So I was fully prepared for this big, because in my head I was like, okay, they're doing this, and at some point they're going to do a whole Rufus cover album. And I have a bunch of her CDs over here. I
Whoa. Oh my God.
was like, oh, they could do this when I was going through the songs and everything. So
Exactly.
yeah, so yeah, I really I loved In Vogue and I loved Lucy Purple for different
Sure.
reasons.
Right.
And I
Exactly.
felt like, to me, it felt like, just watching you guys, it felt like you were freer in Lucy Pearl. Like you have more
Very.
control over how I want to look, how I want to sound,
Yep.
the ad libs,
Yeah.
where I'm going to come in, like you said, I heard you in an interview talk about every day and talk about there's
In the
somebody
beginning of it.
talking on every day. Yeah, I didn't know that was
Yeah, I
you.
was talking. You can
Yeah.
hear me say, Ollie is playing the piano or something.
Yeah, then it's do, do, do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you can hear him messing up. Dun, dun,
Right.
dun, 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 bum, bum, bum. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm coming over. So yeah, the producers that were in the studio with us for that, I got to give them credit, and I always
Mhm.
do, because they were the reason that Lucy Pearl sounded the way that it did. And we would not have sounded that way without Bobby and Glenn, this white
Mhm.
guy and this Mexican guy. They call themselves Jake and the Fat Man.
Mhm.
And as a production team, they just brought the elements that were needed to make that sound come together. They really were the glue. I would say that they were the glue for the whole project. They just had an ear for something different that we weren't expecting. And again, we didn't expect anything. We had no idea what the sound of Lucy Pearl was going to be. We didn't have any preconceived ideas for anything. But when Raphael heard them work with me on some stuff prior to Raphael coming to me for Lucy Pearl idea, he was like, wow, so that's what you're working with? What are their names again? And I said, well, Bobby and Glenn, Jake and the Fat Man.
Mhm.
He said, okay, bring them in on the project. Like, do you think they want to work? I was like, heck yeah. So I brought them to the studio. We had my ex-boyfriend and I and a partner, business partner of ours, had a studio on Hollywood Boulevard. There was no particular name for it. It was just the studio that we were working out of, and it was perfect for what we needed for that project. At first, we were working in my house. I had a house at the time that I famously have talked about. I lost that house, but we were working with Jake and the Fat Man on some stuff for me in my house. And then we got the studio, and Raphael was like, well, bring them into the studio. Like, so we did that. But just let me back up a little bit, because you talked about EnVogue. That was a much more structured project. Denny and Tommy didn't really know what they wanted to talk about with us either. So when you think about Hold On was talking about things that women don't typically talk about, like give him space. You're holding on too tight, in other words. But give him space. I didn't realize that he needed space. Be patient, and he'll give his heart to you. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Like, don't waste your time fighting blind-minded thoughts of despair. Hold on to your love. It was kind of like a male point of view of how a woman should think. And I thought Denny was really clever for that. My first mistake was I wanted too much time. I had to have a morning, noon, and a night. You know what I mean? So it was really clever. Of course, they did the typical girl group stuff, like giving them something to feel. Thank God. And I say thank God because that song was one of our biggest hits as well. And I sang lead. Hello. But it's also, too, Anthony, it was also with Hold On. Let's just go to that song. That was so brilliant on Denny and Tommy's part. Our harmonies, just each one of us, I think I sang a higher part than I typically sing, but that was our first song. You know what I mean? So I don't think they really knew our voices yet. Cindy was the highest soprano. Terry and Cindy would split that role, that note, I should say. And Maxine would have the bottom, but she was also soprano. They just put her down there because she could do it. She was capable of that. So, yeah. And then so that all those harmonies, like that Andrews Sisters, Pointer Sisters type sound, really, really brilliant in the beginning. And then we kind of got stuck in those roles or in those notes. Well, they kind of brought me down a little bit to, I would say, second soprano for other stuff. Yeah, but they didn't know that I could do whistle notes. That never really came up in the studio at all. So on my new music, I will do that stuff. Those notes, I've heard people say, well, I don't really, voice teachers always say, I don't really like whistle notes because they don't really, but when you listen to Minnie Riperton, you understand why they're necessary. Exactly. Then you understand, okay, well, whistle, because hers was so, and it's not to say that anybody else, Ariana Grande or Mariah Carey don't have pure whistle notes, or even Shantae Moore, but there's something sweet and in the right places actually define that song. Like Loving You wouldn't have been as sweet without Minnie Riperton's whistle notes in there, you know? So now going back to Lucy Pearl, yeah, we didn't have any kind of structure. We just went in and literally, like, we'd have an idea. What do you think about this? Should we talk about that? Raphael would come out. He's the one who said, see, I see you looking. Sure hope that you're not tooken. Tooken. Who says tooken in a song? Sure hope. It was like, I think in his key, right there, I see you look. It was too low for me. So I was like, right there, sure hope. I had to bring it up because it just didn't. But any other time, I would have been like, okay, let me find a different note to bring it down because it's a little too high for me. But because he's saying it in his key, I wanted to match that. So I had to find a, and since you know what notes are, what do you call that? The melody. Sure, right there, sure hope. I had to match, let me see, what am I saying? The melody note, I couldn't harmonize with that note. You know what I mean? So I had to go up with it, but it worked for that. Cause it was like to me defining what those words were. Right there, like I see you over there, sure hope. You know what I mean? It was so cute and it was perfect and it worked. And then Raphael with his crazy, I was like, Raphael, this does not make sense. This is not a word, tooken. It's not a freaking word. He's like, but Dawn, it works. And sing it. And I was like, okay, I'll sing it. Man, that was so ghetto and so perfect and so right and so wrong at the same time, you know? It was so perfect, right? So it is for that little girl to be singing that. I hate, it's kind of good and bad. We're teaching her the word tooken, which is grammatically incorrect, but at the same time, it just works for the song. So she can put her little hand on her hip. It's just that. It's just that.
About it. She was 6. She was little.
Oh my God.
Like, oh, okay.
Wow. Oh, exactly. Yeah. So she was. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, no, I really like I said, I thought that's where you guys were headed. I was so hoping that was gonna happen. Because I was like, we really, it's like, things are cyclical and they come back, right?
Yes, they do.
Like you said, we've got, the Andrews Sisters, the Supremes, Patti LaBelle and Bluebells, the Emotions, all those people, and then you guys come out. So everything is kind of like, it comes full circle.
It comes full circle.
So I remember thinking when I saw you guys, when you came out, when I saw the album cover, I remember thinking, oh, okay, clearly it's time for this to come back. Like,
yes.
And they're gonna put a stamp on it. And when I heard the songs, I was like, yeah. And then there were the what was the one? I Can't Stand Your Mother. And I was like, yeah, that was your
oh my gosh.
That, like I said, that one, especially the harmonies towards the end. But what I was going to say was that, yeah, I remember a couple of years ago, I was listening to Good Love in my car. And I remember I tweeted out, this compliment to you about how I could hear shades of young Aretha. I could hear Shaka, and the Good Love. Like there were, especially at the end when you guys blend and you play off one another at the end.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, look and see through the trees. And I was like, okay, I remember hearing and thinking, yeah, that's Shaka. That's
wow.
It reminded me of the song that she did with is it Bobby Womack? Stop On By?
Yes.
Okay, that's what it reminded me.
Stop on.
I was like, oh, it did it.
Exactly. And Bobby Womack is playing on the live version too.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh. That song, it gives me life. Now I'm going to go listen to it once we're done with this interview because it's so dope. It's so dope.
It is.
Wow. I wish we would have done some stuff. Shaka isn't very happy when other people, and I understand because you do your music.
Right.
She's so dope on that song. I'm hearing parts of it in my head.
Yeah.
Don't want to hurt your feelings. Oh, you stop on. So she has the harmony in there, and then Tony
Right.
Maiden has the melody. But that's such a badass song, and their
Mhm.
version of it is just so dope. It's just so dope. I
Yeah.
wish we would have done that. I think we were
Mhm.
good enough to do that and actually
Mhm.
do the song some justice without insulting,
Right.
Rufus, Shaka Khan.
Mhm.
Recently, I reached out to Kevin Moon. Kevin, if you remember the white guy, he played keyboards on it. And I saw him on Facebook and I was like, are you the Kevin Moon, the Kevin Moon? And he was like, yeah. And I said, Kevin, I cannot give you enough props on the Rufus Shaka Khan era. You guys were so brilliant and so amazing and
Mhm.
so melodic and so intricate and so incredible. I just couldn't give him enough compliments. And he said, my dear girl, you are so sweet. And he said, I stopped playing. My wife passed away. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I stopped playing after my wife died.
Mm.
Ah, I understand the pain. I really do. But you got to get back to this. So when I go on tour, I want to bring out Kevin Moon. I want to bring
Mhm.
him out. And there's a guy, John Robinson, played on the Master Jam album. He played drums on their album. My father's
Mhm.
name is John Robinson, so that's why I remember that name. He's the blonde on the album cover, and Shaka's running down the street, and they're all
Right.
chasing her on Master
Mhm.
Jam. John is the big white guy in the back of everybody, and he's got blonde hair, and he plays drums. I want to reach out to these guys because Tony Maiden, Kevin Moon, and John Robinson, and all the musicians that played on those albums were and still are, in my book, the creme de la creme. And then
Mhm.
Shaka's vocals over all of it. Come on, there's nothing like it. Just nothing like it. I wish we would have touched on some of that stuff.
Mhm.
Even
Yeah.
live, we should have covered Stop On By, even a piece of it. Even if we just gave homage or homage, however you say the words, to Rufus Shaka Khan. I want to do Maxine and I were going to work together last year, and I told her I wanted to do Everlasting Love over again.
Oh.
Yeah, Maxine's lows in the very beginning of that song. All I can hear right now in my head. I'm sorry. Let me think. Stop On By. So let me see. Everlasting Love. When
Right.
I feel. She's really down there. Maxine can do
Right.
that. And dreaming, I think sunsets, how high my heart gets. And then I come in on the second verse. Each time you pass me by, man, we could have killed that song
Yes.
together, but I'll probably do it. I'll probably do it by myself. It's just such. I don't know if
Do
Shaka
it.
wrote that. Did she write that song? Anthony, do you know? The
Got it
Hollywood
over here
album.
if you want to wait. I
Yes!
got it. Okay,
Wait,
hold
let's
on.
go!
We got to break professionalism. Hold on 1 second.
That's okay. Fine. It's the Hollywood album. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. You pulled it right up. Wow. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow.
I told you we're not messing around here.
You are so not messing around. Oh my gosh. What's
Let's
hard
see.
about hearing music? It's going to delay for me. So that's going to be a little hard to sing to, but I can still hear it.
So Everlasting Love, it says Kevin Murphy, David
Kevin Murphy, that's what I'm
Walensky,
talking.
and Dennis Belfield. Yeah.
I said Kevin Moon, but it's Kevin Murphy. Yeah. And so Shaka didn't write it.
Not according to that. No, I thought she wrote it too. For some reason, I always thought she wrote that.
Exactly. Wow.
Because there's some really
Well,
good. I mean, there's some really good key changes and notes when she's on
oh
top of
my
the
gosh.
music.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I've seen her do it live. I saw her do it live at the Apollo, and
Oh
she
my
starts
God.
off very low, like Max. She starts on this. She does it in a different key when she starts. And she gets to what
Right.
she normally gets to, but she starts off and
Exactly.
it's almost like. And if you don't know the song, you don't know that's what she's doing. It's like, okay, she's just in a different key. I mean,
Right,
she,
exactly.
takes it on up to the rafters. So yes.
Summer, she says, summer breezes, midnight teases,
Mhm.
friendly invasion. Come on,
Yeah.
friendly invasion, midnight persuasion. Whoa, it's like, okay, we're asleep, we're in bed, we're asleep, and then he wakes you up, or you wake him up, and it's like, I know it's midnight. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what? Just brilliant song. Friendly invasion.
Mhm.
You know what she's saying? We didn't know that as a kid. I was just
No.
singing it. I had no idea.
None of the stuff that as you can see, I don't know if you can see it.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes. One of her best albums. Oh my gosh. But the one album that I love the most, Night in Tunisia. What you gonna do for me album? It's the Night in Tunisia. First of all, Night in
I told you we're not messing around here.
You are not playing, okay? Wow, wow, wow. That album right there, that song, and she's got Dizzy playing on there as well when he was alive, of course. That she's so badass. Maxine explained this years ago. We were still in EnVogue, and we were probably 95, 96. She said Shaka Khan uses her voice during the Rufus years and the Shaka Khan years. She used her voice as an instrument. She's a saxophone. She's a saxophone. I was like, oh my gosh, that is why she can do that stuff. I'm not doing it injustice. She is a saxophone. I was like, Maxine, she is. She really is. She's on that song in particular because she starts up with a long time ago, 40s, Dizzy and Ray gave us. I'm not warmed up. I haven't done nothing. I'm sitting here. I want to be standing up and singing, like, because you get more energy and you get more breath and support when you sing like that. But yeah, man, she is, I think, the most prolific. There's a lot of great singers, don't get me wrong. Aretha could slay you with a little bit of nothing. She just do a little something and you're just like,
right.
Lay you right out. But the power that Shaka Khan had was whoa. Whoa. Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. You got me talking about this. They were probably the biggest influence. And I told that to Kevin Murphy. I let him know you guys were amazing and are still. Yeah. And Roll Me Through the Rushes. Okay. She had a solo album, and you probably had that too. Her solo album, oh my gosh, what was the lead song on that? Was I'm Every Woman was on that album. Yeah, I'm Every Woman. And Roll Me Through the Rushes is a great song as well. I think it's a remake that she remade the song. Oh my God. Yeah. Shaka Khan. Wow. What can we say about her but brilliance? Yes. And then the music that they had behind her was also brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the whole band. Tony.
The music when they start with You Got the Love.
Yes, give me the strength to keep on living. Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So
I'm telling you, when I'm gonna come see you and you go on the road, and I want to hear Rufus medley.
You got it. You know that. You now, well,
like, oh yeah, we talked about that.
Exactly. And I will remind you and you'll remind me. So Raphael's cousin Elijah and I have been talking. He reached out to me, I reached out to him, and he reached back, I should say. And he was like, Dawn, I am literally in the process of writing my autobiographical book, and I am talking about the Lucy Pearl years right now. He said, I got off the plane and I saw your what is it called when you add somebody on Facebook, your friend request. He said, and I was on the plane, and when I got off the plane, when we landed, I saw your friend request. I was like, what? This is crazy, because I'm writing about Lucy Pearl right now, right in the midst of it. He said, and I also have I think it's brilliant, but he did a documentary on Lucy Pearl on actually it's called Loyalty, No Royalty, because Raphael, even though he's family, literally his blood cousin, did not pay him for the Tonys work. He was supposed to be a part of the Tonys, and him and Raphael and Dwayne. You saw the Loyalty?
I think is it out yet? I remember hearing that title. I saw it somewhere.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, and it's a great documentary. Yes, and Elijah is the one who directed and produced the whole thing. So it gives the history of how literally they grew up around the corner from each other. His brother, his father, Raphael's father, and Elijah's mother are brother and sister. You know, so they are real cousins. Yes, real family. And how Raphael did them wrong. It's a really great, it's not, it's not just bad, negative stuff, but it's also some really great musicianship between a lot of the Oakland sound and Oakland musicians. It's chock full of talent in the Bay Area, Oakland Bay Area. So, and he talks briefly about Dawn Robinson left Lucy Pearl. She had a problem. She had a discrepancy with Raphael as well. So he didn't go into it as much with Lucy Pearl. But so when I reached out to him, he was like, do you understand that I literally was I just was writing about you on the plane, about the Lucy Pearl stuff. He said, I want to work with you. First of all, I have to ask you for your forgiveness because I was mean to you during the Lucy Pearl days. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, I don't know if you remember. And he went into this whole thing that we had a falling out with each other. I was like, Elijah, first of all, thank you for apologizing to me. It's very big of you to do that because you're taking accountability for what you did wrong. I forgot all about it, but you're right. We did have this like tit for tat thing with each other. And I said, but you're the one who started it. So I thank you for apologizing to me. That was very big. And I said, he said, well, let's work on some stuff. So we're working now. I want to cover some of these Rufus Shaka Khan songs, or at least one, and on the road, because we're talking about doing some what do we call it? Virtual shows.
Okay.
Online. I want to do that online, and I want to talk about. I want to do some stuff. I want to do some of those songs now that you bring this up, because I think that doing that now with Elijah. There's a guy named Amar that his real name is William, but Amar, his stage name is Amar. Amar took over for the Tonys when Raphael left the Tonys. Amar took over for him, and so him and I are going to be in the group as well, and he's going to sing with me all the guy parts for Lucy Pearl. That's Amar, William. Okay. And Elijah was on the road with us when we did this whole Lucy Pearl run. So he was with us from the beginning. So he knows everything that happened.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. He was there for the whole thing. He knows exactly what happened with Raphael not paying me well enough to keep my house. He knows all that stuff. And he was there to witness the whole thing. And I love it because now it's not just me talking about what happened with EnVogue and Lucy Pearl. It's also Elijah, who's Raphael's cousin. You know what I mean? It's one thing for you to talk about something and everybody's like, okay, Dawn, you were kicked out of EnVogue and then Lucy Pearl ended. Like, it can't be everybody else's fault. And so now working with Elijah, it's like vindication. You know what I mean? The vindication that I need to tell the story. And it's not just me saying it. But they are those kind of musicians and they can play all that Shaka Khan stuff. I hate to, it's almost like we're saying that we can't create our own sound as well. But that Rufus Shaka Khan stuff, man. Oh my God. It's it's a whole world of its own.
I think, and then I want to ask you a couple of other things. I want to talk about money as an artist as well. But I think, my take on it is that if something is good, it's good. If it's exceptional, it's exceptional, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of like, I look at it like if you were going to do if you were going to do an album, right, that was dedicated to Rufus covers, people do it all the time with the Great American Songbook. They do Frank Sinatra songs. They do, what's his name? Yeah. The guy who's older now, Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett, so people have a body of work that lives on forever, and other people, everybody will take their stab at it. And I think to me,
in fact, Tony Bennett does a lot of covers from other people. You know what I mean? He does a lot of the stuff from the early 30s and
Yeah.
20s, and you know what I mean? So you're absolutely right. They do cover. Tony Bennett has covered Sinatra songs.
Yes.
You know, I left my heart in San Francisco. Chicago, Chicago,
Mhm.
all that stuff. He's redone that stuff. Dean Martin songs.
Mhm.
He's done all of that. So you're absolutely right. Barbara Streisand has covered everybody's stuff.
Everybody. And that's what
Yeah,
people that were singers used to do that. And it wasn't a big deal. It's like, yeah,
exactly.
I
People who,
have an album of original stuff, but I can also always go back and do songs that are great songs,
yeah, you're
and put that
absolutely right.
out. So yeah, I
Sure.
think the
Thank you
world is
for
big
that.
enough for
Thank
that.
you.
So yeah, so I'm gonna be there, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person. I'll be there with my little
Yay.
mask on.
Yes,
I'll-
our first show is supposed to be this July 10th.
oh,
If
okay.
everything goes well.
Okay. Hopefully we'll be this all this other stuff will be a thing of the past because I'm because of you, I'm loading up on oil of oregano, black seed oil.
Oh my
I've got my mother on it too. I took a picture of the day and sent it to my mother. And I was like, you need to get, So I was like,
you
let's go.
so much. That's so smart, you guys. And I'm glad that I can influence you in a good way. Oil of oregano. Every morning I wake up, I alkaline my body with lemon juice, just a little bit squeezed in a glass. It's so easy because I thought, oh, I hate preparation. I think that's why I don't cook, because I don't like the prep that goes into it. I'm lazy. So I just cut a lemon in half, squeeze it in there, or half a lemon in a glass, and I drink that down. A little bit of water, not a whole lot, a half a glass of water, just to start the electrolytes in the body moving around and get things revved up and woken up. And then I do my a little bit of honey, a little bit of baking soda, a little bit of more lemon, and then apple cider vinegar. And I think I'm missing something else. And that's just to get all the gook out of your gut and out of your stomach. And again, start moving your digestive system around. So, but the garlic, you can get garlic pills, you can get oil of oregano pills, because the liquid is really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
One drop of oil of oregano. Yeah, if it gets in your mucous membranes or in your eyes or on your fingers and you touch your eye, oh my God, that's excruciating pain. There's nothing like that. You got to be really careful with that. And I mean, one drop of it is potent. So it kills everything. They say if you go on YouTube, you see a bunch of stuff on oil of oregano. It kills everything except death. Death. I mean, it's that powerful, and that's what God puts on this planet for us to be able to heal ourselves with. So good for you. I'm glad you're doing that. I'm so happy to hear that. Really.
Yeah, my mom is vegan. She's been vegan since 2004.
Wow,
and I decided last year. It's really funny. I'm working on a film. I'm doing a documentary film about Black men.
Oh,
and
you
health.
guys are doing a lot. Come on, albums.
Well, you get to the point where you say, why not? Right? You're at home.
Exactly.
You have all the tools you need to make. Between a phone and a computer, you can do anything you can do in Hollywood. Right?
Thank you. So exactly, Anthony. I'm sorry. Just on that note, I have done. You're my 89th, I think, interview. And I have been telling people since COVID started, last year, use this year. Don't sit at home and say, oh my God, I'm so bored and I can't stand it. I'm not working. You didn't like that damn job anyway. So stop complaining that you're not working. Okay, first of all, you didn't like it. You hated it there. So now that you're home, utilize this time to research. There's so much on the internet. There is no excuse not to have a business. Someone did an interview, it was a lady that did an interview with T.I., and she said the same thing. She said, if you're not utilizing the world wide web it is the internet real estate.
Right.
If you're not using that platform to open up a business of your own or start something, if you're good at gardening, I'm looking out the window right now, if you're good at gardening, or you're good at painting, or you're great at photography, or you're great at, you're a singer and you want to teach lessons, well, you got to be careful with that, because a great vocal coach knows the apparatus. They know how the larynx is attached to the tongue, is attached to the hard palate, soft palate, all that stuff. They understand how the diaphragm works and what that means to sing from the diaphragm. That all that stuff matters. The teeth, the tongue, all that stuff. So I don't suggest that so much, but whatever it is that you're good at, utilize, there's so much information on it that you can research and find out how to start your own business online.
Yep.
You don't have to wait for the government. You don't have to have a lot of money.
No.
Right now I'm talking to you on my cell phone and I have a light. The light isn't on. I'm just using the natural light from outside because it's early enough. But when I do later interviews, I use the light that I have around my phone. You got to utilize what you have, and we're so capable of doing this that we think we can't. I have talked to, you're probably, I would say maybe I'll just say 10 to round it off. 10 different interview, and a lot of them that I talked to probably just didn't talk to me about their business, but a lot of these interviewers or journalists or whatever you guys want to call yourselves, you guys have your own businesses. That to me is brilliant. It's smart. And I'm like, Dawn, you asked me when we first sat down before you started recording, you were like, I like your lipstick. Don't you have a lipstick line? And I was like, no, but I'm starting one now because there's a woman named Tika who has her own line. And she's like, I want to send you some products. Her line is called Liquid Burns. I just did a sweatshirt, shot in a sweatshirt of hers that she sent me because we're going to go into business together. She has Liquid Burns, but we're going to start a lipstick line together.
Right.
And I'm like, Dawn, you have a name. Hello. People are out there doing their thing because they're not allowing their own mind to tell them that they can't do it.
Right.
They're not being held back because that's the only person that can stop you from being successful is you. There's no, I don't care, Uncle Sam, the man next door, your landlord, the woman down the street, your mother who told you couldn't do it. Nobody else can tell you that you can't except you.
Right.
And I'm so proud of you and your husband for doing your thing and your mom for being vegan, because it's not just about what it does for the body. You're literally talking about eating a dead animal, and people are like, oh, that's so gross. If you think about eating a dead pigeon in the yard, right? But you eat a dead chicken in the yard the same way. And it may not be in your yard, so you can't see it and you can't correlate the two together. But I'm like, it's the same exact thing, you guys. So I'm trying my best to be as much as vegan as I can. It's harder now that I moved back in with my parents for a while, because my stepdad cooks. He's cooked for us since I was 14 years old. So he is the chef in the house. And he ain't trying to hear no coconut butter. He's not trying to hear, so, and his name is Bobby. So I'm like, Bobby, I'm gonna get you some. He's like, don't bring no vegan. No, okay. You want to bring it in the house? You'll be eating it by yourself. He's a man's man. He's from Texas. He is all that. And I'm like,
okay.
But Bobby, it's so much healthier. And he's like, all right. And I understand that. So I'll make that for you and put that on your plate. And then I'm gonna eat this over here. I have a steak. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys. So he's funny, but the more you're around people and that you can help them see those kind of things, your mom will convince you and your husband eventually.
Right. Well, what happened was she had been doing it for a while and I didn't think anything about it. And then I started doing this film. I'm working on this documentary film because I found out through an ex-coworker, she sent me this link, and I had just said a week before, I'm going to dedicate the next whatever to doing films. I'm learning about film. And then she sent me this link, and it was to go to USC, and it's called, the course is called Documentary Filmmaking for Social Change.
Wow.
So when I started working on it, it's all virtual because nobody can. So it felt right when she sent it to me. So I signed up, and I was going to do one project, and then right at the time I decided to do this one project, I said, I watched this movie called What the Health, and I watched Forks Over Knives.
What the Health.
I'm going to take 30 days. I'm going to take 30 days and I'm going to do this 30 days and see what happens.
Good
and
for you.
30 days started September 1, and it still hasn't changed. I had this morning before this call, I had Brussels sprouts and potatoes before I even got on this call. So it's still
very good.
No dairy, and so it's kind of like, I know that doing this film is kind of, like I was telling my mom Friday, a lot of times if you make a change in your life in one area, your whole life, it kind of trickles out.
It does.
You make a decision, okay, I'm not putting up with X, Y, and Z anymore. Or I'm putting a boundary in this part of my life. You look up and every part of your life kind of reflects it.
Yes,
so
it does.
I started doing this film, and then I did, that got up and running, and then I'm working on that now. I have a website. I've written 8 books. And then I decided last year, yeah.
Oh my gosh, Anthony, 8
Yes,
books.
yeah. And then I have a business partner that lives in England. That's a whole other story, how we met. And I have this
Oh my
website and I do
God.
videos like this and I post them. But what happened was, and I have to thank you for this. The reason I decided to do this series,
Yeah.
launch a series, Visionaries and Truth Tellers, was because 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny how things come full circle. 10 years ago,
Yeah,
you were
always.
talking about, being put out of EnVogue and Lucy Pearl, and you were starting to talk about like the 2 pennies a record and what you guys were going through. And I
Exactly.
thought, and it was the same time that Monique was talking about all the stuff that she was going through with the movie. And then
Yes.
I remember
Yeah.
watching that thinking, when I heard you when you were saying that and people were making all these comments, I remember thinking, she must be telling the truth because everybody's pissed off. So she must be telling
Exactly.
the truth. And
And you know that
then,
it's only people, like the fans will get upset, but they don't say specific things. That's why I know that it's
mhm,
on the inside. So it's
right,
either our producers or our even some of my old group members or people on from the record company that dogged us out and 2 pennies a record. That's what our contract said. So I have proof. I have receipts for all of it. Go ahead. I'm
right.
sorry.
So no, when you were saying that, and then the tipping point for me was I was talking to somebody I was going to do a project with.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and I was talking to this person. I said, oh, I have this idea for this show where I talk to people that are, speaking truth to power. I'm going to call it Visionaries and Truth Tellers. And the first
Nice.
guest I want,
Nice.
and I mentioned your name. And I
Oh
said, I'm
my
going to talk to
God.
Dawn. And this was in 2010. And what the person
Okay.
told me, and hopefully I don't want you to get your feelings, but this is what the person told me. When I
Hmm.
mentioned you, the person told me, oh, well, she's a problem and she thinks she's a diva. So then my response was, oh, you must know
Wow.
her. So what I said was, oh, have you worked with her? And it
Exactly.
was dead silence. I was like, well, so where are you getting that from? Because I
Exactly.
thought she was gonna say, well, I was her manager, I did this, because it's kind of like, so basically you are kind of repeating what everybody else is saying. So then that
Right.
let me know. I was like, I'm
Or,
gonna keep this idea in my head.
well, this is the thing, Anthony, when you call people out on shit that they say, this is why every single time I see that, and I see usually the haters come into the lives.
Mm-hmm.
So what I say to them is, you must know me because of the personal touch that you're putting on this whole thing. You're really affected
Mm-hmm.
by the fact that I'm telling this truth right now, and you don't like it. So the way that you're reacting to me is very personal. It's not like a fan saying, well, why did you leave and what happened? And I have a bone to pick with you because you left the group and you guys are my favorite group. There's a difference in the tone
Right.
that their responses take. And I know for sure that they're angry and it's because I'm telling the truth.
Right.
Why would I say that there were 2 pennies a record if there was more than that? Who wants to be embarrassed by the fact that we made so much money, but what, I squandered it all? Or you would have heard about me squandering my money. You
Right.
would have heard about that National
Yep.
Enquirer or in the news somehow. You would have heard about Dawn Robinson loses her mansion due to drugs, or
Right.
you know what I mean? Like Charles, what's his name? Charlie Wilson takes accountability for the fact that he didn't have the money to squander. He wasn't making the money in the first place, but he ended up on the street. He ended
Mm-hmm.
up on crack, literally living on the curb, on the street, like you see homeless people out there. But he claims he takes accountability for that himself.
Mm-hmm.
So but you heard about those stories like, wow, I heard he's on the street. When we were kids, we would hear whispers about that stuff. So you would have heard about Dawn Robinson. Yeah, I think the other girls, even though they love me, they would have said, well, Dawn wasn't doing so well and she lost all her money and she lost her mansion, or she, squandered her money. She was a gambler.
Mm-hmm.
She was addicted to gambling, or she was betting on or buying way too much stuff. And like Michael Jackson had to take accountability even for himself after a while for
Mm-hmm.
losing all of his money. He didn't do that it's not like he didn't have it and lost it. Or I'm sorry, he didn't have it or he had it and lost it. He had it and bought the wrong stuff. MC Hammer doesn't really explain that about his life, but we were around him enough to know he had Arabian horses. When we went into his daughter's mansion, in her bedroom, she had a retractable ceiling that opened up to the
Whoa.
clouds so she could see the stars at night. Why? She can go out on her balcony. She can go out in her vast backyard with her pool and her tennis courts. And she can see the stars. Yeah, stuff like that. He had a bowling alley in his mansion.
Wow.
So that's different when you have the money and you squander it. I never had it. We never had it. So you would have heard those stories like, yeah, Dawn's not doing too well, or
right.
Or Entertainment Tonight. Dawn isn't, you know. Well, I did an interview.
Okay.
Just one more thing. I did an interview with Maxine for not Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, with Dawn Robinson, and Maxine was sitting right by me. She was sitting to my right, and I think I was sitting up a little bit higher because the boxes that the Apple boxes that they had for us were one was too high, one was too low. And I started Sean Robinson asked me, she said, Dawn, so you left the group and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. And I started talking about it, not realizing I'm actually sitting next to Maxine. And when I started telling it, I was like, yeah. And so the girls, you know, kicked me out of the group. Then I can't take it back now. And I'd look crazy if I stopped in mid-sentence and said something else. But yeah, and they kicked me out, and I wasn't happy with 2 pennies a record. I said all that in front of Maxine, and she did not correct me. She didn't say, well, Dawn, you know, and she was sitting, like I said, I had to kind of look down at her. So she didn't look at me and say, up at me and say, well, Dawn, part of that is true, Sean. Let me just kind of fill that in for Dawn. Or let me tell what really happened. Or, yeah, you're kind of right, but this is actually what happened. She didn't fill me in at all. She didn't correct me at all. She didn't say, well, no, that's not quite what happened. This is why we did that. She didn't come back in, what do you call it? Rebuttal. She didn't have a rebuttal for me. Or she didn't even say, after I stopped talking, she didn't say, well, can I just, Sean, would you mind? Dawn, I'm just going to fill in what happened. She didn't do that. She sat right there in the heat of the whole thing and said nothing. And then there was another interview with all 4 of us. Actually, I came back to the group in 2009. We were preparing for our 2010, which was our 20-year anniversary. And we were doing private sessions, and the whole thing, you can see it on YouTube to this day. I think it's on YouTube.
I've seen it, yeah, it's on YouTube.
It's on either YouTube. Oh, it's 5 parts, really?
Yeah.
And the host was really sweet to us. And she said, Dawn, you left the group, and I didn't expect the question, but I'm like, yeah. And she said, so what happened? Well, I wasn't happy with, you know, the fact that we weren't making, you know, more than what I thought we should. I was too afraid to confront the girls because I knew that I had all 3 of them right there with me. And how are they going to sit there and say, we're going to let Dawn talk about the fact that we kicked her out of the group, wrongful termination, first of all. And we're going to let her talk about the fact that we were okay. She was not okay with getting 2 pennies a record. But the 3 of us were. The 3 of us were not as upset as Dawn was about being paid 2 pennies a record. We were okay staying in the group and being paid that little bit of money. It was going to make them look stupid. So I was like, oh my God, this is confrontation time. Not the right place and not the right time. And the reason that I declined, I kind of said it, but I didn't say it. The reason that I backed off of the whole thing and didn't really go there is because when we're in the room together, the 4 of us, just the 4 of us, no cameras, no boyfriends, no husbands, no kids, you know, no press, nothing. The reason that they don't tell the truth even then.
Wow. Oh.
Even when it's safe, even when it's just the 4 of us, Cindy doesn't say, you know what, Dawn, I'm so sorry. She said it in a couple of interviews. I wish we would have listened to Dawn instead of letting the record company come in and say that what they did. But she doesn't really say Dawn was right. Nobody has really said that except Maxine. She didn't actually say it, but she didn't deny it either, is what I mean when we did that interview, just to her and I together. But she doesn't really step up and say, Dawn is right. There was only 2 pennies a record. And we kicked her out because we were afraid to have her back. We had the record companies back because we were afraid to go against this big corporation. It's like this little tiny artist or little tiny 4 girls. And here's this big record company over our heads. We were afraid to fight that record company. The 4 of us together, what can we do?
And let me jump in about that. And this is what I want to say, because I've heard you say that one other, no, you're fine. I heard you say one other interview. And here's the real deal. This is what I believe is my heart of hearts. You guys would have won. Like if you had stuck together,
I think so
and so
too.
you would
I
have,
think
I
so
mean,
too,
and
Anthony.
I think a lot of times we get very intimidated because it's a corporation, or I don't know
Yeah,
what's going on, or I can't read this. If you can't just pluck one of you out and put somebody else in there and think, okay, nobody's going to notice. It's kind of like
exactly.
that wasn't going to work. And I think a lot of
Right.
times, and I heard you say this, and I've begun to use it as my mantra. I think many times we don't
Mhm.
know the power we have, so we
Yes.
spend so much time giving it away, and we give it
Yes.
away. It's like, oh, it's easier to go along. It's easier. I
Yep.
don't know. We'll figure it out. And it's kind of like that's what I was
Exactly.
saying. And I wanted to kind of get back to what I was saying about why I started this whole thing.
Yeah.
So I was wanted to have you as a guest, and that was the germ. That was the germ of the or the seed of the idea of me doing this. Because I was like,
Okay.
okay,
Wow.
she's talking about, and this happened in 2010. Fast forward 10 years later, we're in the middle of a pandemic,
Hmm.
and last May, I said I was talking to my partner who lives in my business partner who lives in England, who runs the
Yeah.
website and everything, and I said, well, I have this idea that I'm wanting to do it, and that's why I don't know. I said, I'm just going to do it because I don't know. For 10 years, I've been saying I didn't know enough people. I don't know how to do it. I had all these reasons why I couldn't do it, right?
Exactly.
Then
Exactly.
I said, okay, if this is a pandemic, everybody's at home. I'm at home. Why not?
Yep.
And I didn't realize until the third or fourth interview, I was like, oh my God, this is the idea that I had 10 years ago. And something has
Wow.
changed because I'm not letting it stop. I'm not letting what I don't know stop me in this vein.
Exactly.
And I kept
Wow.
going.
Wow.
And now, like you're probably number maybe you're the 20th interview that I've done. I've got
Uh-huh.
10 of them on my website. I've got another YouTube channel that I launched last Monday. But it's kind of
Okay.
like you just do it, you know what I mean? And you figure it out. And
That's
it's the
right.
same thing with like you said, there's no reason why anybody shouldn't have multiple businesses,
Thank you.
or have a business, especially online, because you can do so much. It's like there's a guy that I know who's really great who is a screenwriter. Well, I met him
Hmm.
doing these interviews. He lives in South Africa. And yesterday
Wow.
he tweeted out this really sweet message about me. And so all these people started following me and sending me messages. And I was
Oh my
like, wow.
gosh.
And I just
One
met
thing
him on
leads to the
Twitter.
next thing.
And the world is about that big, and
Yeah.
it's big, but it's not. Then
Well,
the web has made it really tiny.
exactly. And I keep telling people that you put yourself out there, and if you trust the universe and trust yourself and your idea, God will bring you everything that you need. It'll converge in a way that you couldn't expect, and that it'll come together. And it's like, oh my God, this person has this idea, and this person has the cameras, and that person has the clothes or the wardrobe, and this person can do your makeup or hair, or this person has the means, the financial means to
Right.
back you up. Like the connections that I have right now have literally, let me see, my book publishing deal, my the deal to do my Divamentary.
Mm-hmm.
I coined that phrase years ago. Instead of a documentary, a Divamentary. My lipstick line. Most of that stuff has come from social media.
Mm-hmm.
Those connections, those people. I've done a couple of the interviews I've done. My business partner came out of that. Like he's the real deal. His name is, well, I won't say it, but because he's like, no, I don't want to be in public. But he's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He really is the real deal. Like he's not, you talk to a lot of people and sometimes they say, oh, I have this connection and I can do that. And then you get with them and they're like, not really. I thought I knew it. If I have your name, I can go get it.
Right.
If you tell me that you're on board, then I can go and say I have
Right.
Dawn Robinson. I'm like, oh. So, but he actually put his money where his mouth was. And now all of these things are transpiring because of him.
Mm-hmm.
So it is just beautiful the way things come together when you believe that they can.
Right.
It's so I'm proud
And
of you and your
yeah.
husband. Kudos to you guys, literally, Anthony, because it is not easy when you don't have it to see how it can be. How can I manifest this without any? I don't have it.
Right.
How can I manifest this?
And I think
You
if
know
you
what I mean?
I tell people, if you just, just keep putting one foot in front of the other,
Yes.
asking people for help, and like whatever you believe in, I chant every day. So I'm a Buddhist, so like Tina Turner, so I chant every day. So, I chanted about this interview. I chanted about, so for me, it's everything is always
Wait,
about, okay.
Anthony, hold on, please. Hold
Mm-hmm.
the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. I am Buddhist as well. I was shakabuku'd into Buddhism. Oh, it's
Oh,
been Yeah, my friend Jennifer got me shakabuku'd into, her father is Willie Davis, the famous baseball player for the Dodgers. So
Hmm.
she's a black girl, mixed Filipino and
Okay.
black. Her mom's Filipino. In a time when Filipinos and blacks, like it just was like, and he's
Hmm.
a famous baseball player, So he was scrutinized for dating a woman outside of his race. He was hit in the head with a baseball and he had a concussion, had to have surgery. So the drugs made him angry, all kinds of stuff. And she's
Hmm.
doing a book about her dad right now. So they grew up Buddhist.
Hmm.
And when she did my makeup, she's a makeup artist, and I met her through the Lucy Pro project. And when she did my makeup, we were talking, and I had just met her, and she was like, "Oh yeah, my mom." I told her, I think it was What's Love Got to Do with It had come out, and I said I was like surprised that Tina Turner is a Buddhist. And
Hmm.
she's like, "Oh my God, I know. My mom talks about that when we were kids." She was like, "Yeah, all these famous people in the industry that are Buddhists." And she said, Tina Turner was one. And I said, "Well, how does your mom know that much?" She's like, "My mom is Buddhist. We grew up Buddhist."
Hmm.
I was like, and so from there, she brought me into the church with her. And I went to a couple of Buddhist temples and we chanted and one thing led to the next, and she shakabuku'd me into
Mm. Okay.
Buddhism.
Okay.
And I was just like, oh my God, I haven't done it enough to see the results of my life changing, because I figured if it worked for Shaka Khan, if it worked for Tina Turner, who
Hmm.
at the time had a tumultuous, hateful, angry, evil relationship with
Hmm.
her husband. She said that the turning point for her life was when she saw that she was pregnant by Ike, but so were her two background dancers, two Ikeettes. So
Hmm.
that's three women. And then the woman that was on the road with them doing their books, their bookkeeper, a white girl. All four of us are pregnant by my husband. That was it for her. So she
Hmm.
finally left. But when I saw the movie, I was like, okay. And so I went and I started researching Buddhism. And I went to this beautiful bookstore in Los Angeles on Robertson. I forget the name, but it's such a pleasant place. Like you can go and they have fountains going, and it's
Yeah, you're
really,
talking about the Friendship Center.
how do you know?
Because I've
Are
been
you from
there.
LA? You live in
Yeah, I live in Long Beach.
LA? Anthony, okay, we have to get together. Me, you, and your husband have to get together. We have to get together. Like literally, you don't meet people that know this stuff. The
Hmm.
Friendship Center, exactly.
Yes.
It's a little corner
Yep.
store right by the Earth Cafe.
Yep.
I don't know if it's still there. I hope it's still there. I haven't been in so long, but anytime I'm in LA, it's usually for other business, so I can't get by there. But I went in and I just started studying and looking at books and
Hmm.
learning the different types, because it didn't say in the movie what type of Buddhism.
Hmm.
So it was Nirin Shoshu, I think it is.
Nichiren Daishonin, yes.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. You got me straight. And I started researching this and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, this, so yeah, I cannot believe you're Buddhist.
Hmm.
I'm shocked, and
So
I'm
yeah,
so,
I chant every day, twice a day. I do evening prayers. I do morning prayers.
you have to tell me,
What's
just
really funny about this is that
mhm.
I have been, I've been reaching out for a couple of years to talk with you, right?
Yes.
I've been putting stuff on Twitter. I've been asking people if you know her, blah, blah, blah.
Oh
And then I
my
saw
gosh.
an interview you did with, I think his name was Jason Carter. And I saw
Yes.
this interview a
Recently.
month ago. And I was
Yeah.
watching it on a Thursday. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, this must be a sign. My last name is Carter. His last name is Carter. And then I heard
Wow.
one of you guys said something about Instagram. And I said, that's it. I said, I've never reached out to her on Instagram.
Oh my
I went on
goodness.
Instagram that night, reached out to you. That was Thursday. 2 days later, I was sitting at my grandson's graduation and I saw your message. And I started freaking out. And they were like, what's going on? I was like, just worry about the graduation. But it happened, and you said, February 21st. And, I thought about that. And I was like, that's super significant because that's Nina Simone's birthday,
Oh
blah,
my
blah, blah.
gosh.
So
So
it's like, so it's,
today's her birthday.
yeah. So
I
it's
didn't
kind
know
of like
this.
my experience has been when you chant, my experience has been you can move mountains. I mean,
I
there's
just don't know
timeless.
how. So that's what I want to talk to you about after we get off this
Mhm.
call, though. I'm not sure how, because Tina in the movie, every time literally the first time she chanted, I don't know if you saw the movie, but she was
Mhm.
crying with her friend. She's like, what is this going to do for me? She said, just anime is what she kept calling her.
Mhm.
Just chant, just feel the energy of it. And she said, but this is crazy. I don't like this. It doesn't make sense. She's like, it will. Just keep chanting. you'll feel the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that we're putting, because people look at religion, other religions. If you're not Christian or
Right.
Baptist or Methodist, and you come from the Black church, they're like, girl, that's that's satanic.
Right. You're
Satanic.
gonna burn the house down and you worshiping
Exactly.
the devil. Like, who mentioned anything about a devil?
Exactly. And so they don't know any better. So they
Right.
assume all these negative things about Buddhism. I'm like, I wouldn't have known if I didn't watch the movie what it was about, because she thought the same thing. Tina thought this was satanic.
Right.
And it's such a sense of calm and peace. It's really just focusing your mind, not on necessarily an entity or even the statue that's in front of you or anything like that. Because I have a temple. I haven't set it up in so long. It's in my parents' garage right now. I haven't set it up. It's in a bin in my storage unit, really. So I haven't set it up because I haven't been able to do that and have my own place with my own energy. I have the scroll.
Well,
I have.
oh, okay. So you have a Gohanzen.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
good.
I have
Okay.
my little ding ding ding.
Yeah.
I have my candle holders. I have
Well, it's
2 candle
imperative
holders.
that you take a stab at it, because you guys have the same birthday. I don't know if you knew that.
No, me and
Yeah.
Tina Turner.
Isn't your birthday is November 28th, right?
No, 24th, 4 days before
24th.
hers.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is
that's all
28th.
right.
Sorry. Okay, I thought it was the 28th.
Oh my goodness. So
So
you and
yeah.
I can talk, because I need to know exactly how to focus what it is that I want into my I have I do my Dai shonen. Daimoku. What is it?
Daimoku when you're chanting? Yeah, Daimoku.
Yes! Yes, I do that. But I have the woman that I do it with, and she's so fast. I know Namyo Renge Kyo. What is the first part of it?
Well, it's prayers. So it's a prayer book. I have a room in my front house, and it's a prayer, and you do prayers and you chant, and whenever you're trying to make a breakthrough with something, it's kind of like, that's why I got to you, because I decided in January, I'm like, no, I'm going to connect with her. I don't know how. And I made the decision, and that was my prayer.
God.
And I'm telling you, within 2 days, that's when you reached out to me. So it
Oh
happened that
my
quick.
gosh.
And we talk about a lot of times in our practice about inconspicuous and conspicuous benefits. Like you'll be chanting for something. And what I have learned over the years, I've been chanting now for 20, 21 years.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
And it's all about, you look at, okay, who do I need to become to have this happen? Right.
Right.
I want to change this, not change them. Like, like you said, it's like you just said about the ladies in your group. Even when you're alone, people won't come correct.
Exactly.
So you're not, you don't have any power over changing that. You can change you.
And I don't want to, no.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I think a lot of times people fall into
they
this,
do.
If I could just get them to see this, they'll come around my way of thinking. No, they won't.
Right.
So it's kind of like you have to figure out, okay, I want to make a breakthrough in this part of my life. I want to make it. And I mean, I've seen, typically my experience has been when you have just one person in your family chanting, right?
Right.
You'll see all these benefits that everybody else gets. Like my stepdaughter, my husband, James, has 2 older daughters. And one of them just got this really great house, right? This huge house. I'm just like, who buys a house in the middle of a pandemic? But they're closing on it. They're moving in a couple of weeks. And it's like you start to see people that are around you that are connected. And you see you see them getting benefit. And so
is she Buddhist as well?
No, I'm the only one in my family and in James's family. But
exactly.
But I keep their names in my altar, and I'm always chanting about, I chant every day for courage and wisdom. The wisdom to know what to say, how
and
to
the courage to say it.
The courage to say it, right?
To say it, that's right.
Wait, and sometimes you have to come back, and sometimes you have to have, like my husband and I have been together. Oh, next month will be 10 years, right? We've been married for 7, we've been together for 10. And there are times we have to have the same conversation about the same thing multiple times. Because either I'm triggered and I'm not thinking, or he's not thinking, and we know when to walk away and say, okay, we're not creating the result we want, because all we're doing is this. Like, and we say, who's driving the bus? So now it's 2 5-year-olds are trying to get their needs. And it's like,
Exactly.
no, nobody,
Mine,
is there
mine, mine.
any listening going on in here at all? But then you
Exactly.
have, but that's a wisdom thing, right? And it's kind of
Yes.
like, it's the same thing with dealing with my parents, them getting older, dealing with coworkers, dealing with, like you talked about, businesses, being able to see,
Wow.
okay, this is the right decision for me, or it
Exactly.
isn't the right decision. And no matter what anybody says, I know this is not the right, I don't need to move in this direction. And
Exactly.
even when people tell me, oh, well, you should, or it looks good, I'm like, yeah, it does look good. But I'm telling you,
Right.
my gut is saying,
But we have an
right.
innate discernment. We have an
Mhm.
innate
Ooh, I like that discernment. Yes.
yeah, we do. We have discernment. We're given that natural discernment, but lots of times because we want what we want, we don't listen to that discernment. We ignore it. That guy is not good for me, or that business deal is not the right thing, but I want it so bad that I overlooked my discernment. And what I
Mhm.
feel is right in my spirit is telling me, there's something, that little nudge when you get something that doesn't feel right, or they say something to you or send an email and
Mhm.
you're like, and you question it, but you're like, what? And I'll go on and ignore it. As soon as I do that, it always tells me you should have listened.
Mhm.
You should have listened because it was wrong and you knew it. That little
Right.
nudge was that first thing that went wrong. And you're like, oh, that's not cool. But I'm going to ignore it because I want this thing, whatever it
Right.
is.
But
Um,
I think, like I said, we can talk about Buddhism, at a later date. But I think one of the things that I've learned, and I think it's because of the practice, and forget it, just because I've gotten older, is
yeah.
figuring out, okay, when to be still and like
Mm,
ask questions and like, okay,
hmm.
well, does this make sense? And it
Right.
doesn't matter. And like you said, I think a lot of times we get used to being so distracted with everything,
Yes.
fame and fortune and this, and you should want this, and you should do this, and all this shoulding, right? And then you're like, okay, I don't
Exactly.
think this is the right thing, or it's time, or even if it's something good,
Yeah.
and you need to walk away, or if it's something
Yes.
that started off good, but now it's kind of like it's circling the drain, and you hold it, white knuckling. I'm gonna hold,
Thank you.
I'm gonna
Exactly.
hold
For
on. It's
dear
like, no,
life.
this is over. The
Exactly.
season for this is past. It's over. It's time, and it doesn't
And
mean that you don't love and care about people. It just means, okay, well, whatever we were doing here,
exactly.
we
It's no
came
longer
together to
working
do this, right?
and
And
it no
now it's
longer
time.
works.
We've hit a plateau, and it's time for us. One of us needs to move on. So yeah,
Yes.
and I think that happens, and I think you only get in trouble when you stay too long at the fair. That's what I call it. You stick around too long,
Exactly.
and
But
everything in your
and
gut is
that's
like go, and you're just like no. And then
exactly, Anthony.
you start justifying bad behavior, and it's like, oh no,
Yeah.
that's not.
Well, this is the thing, even with Lucy Pearl and EnVogue, well, I should say EnVogue because Lucy Pearl was only supposed to be a year anyway. It was a one-off,
Mhm.
it was a one album situation, unfortunately, because it's such a great project. But with EnVogue, every single time the girls would call me for something, now mind you, they don't kick me out. So
Mhm.
here I go back to that situation just because I thought, okay, there's got to be money that we can make together. I helped build this thing, so I'm coming back because I want my just due. This is
Mm.
my group too, and I'm coming back and oh, so I thought it was so bad you guys kicked me out, but now you want me back. So that was my vindication. That was my ego saying that
I
I
was
need to
gonna
go back to
say
that
that smells
situation.
like an ego. Yeah.
Exactly. And so going back to those situations, I get kicked out again and again and again, or they do stuff that I'm just like, I can't be here for this. And God is like, okay, I tried to tell you. And every single time you go back to that situation, it's worse and worse and worse and worse. You're not supposed to be with EnVogue. Stop it. Stop trying to go back and make something that doesn't fit. It's a
Right.
square peg and a round. You're trying to make that thing, and it's like, and it's all crooked. It's broken, and you're trying to make that thing
Mhm.
work, and it's not right. So, and that's with anything in my life. I've done it. I used to do it all the time with my ex-husband. And it took me years and years to figure out I am not supposed to be here. This man has had children with other women while you guys were married. He's had 3 women while we were married. You keep going back to that. He keeps choking you and almost literally killing you, and you keep going
Mm.
back to that. When are you going to finally see yourself in this whole scheme of this relationship that it is not right for you?
Right.
Wake up. And finally, I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? And,
Right.
oh my God, okay, wow. I
How
look
did
at
I end up
myself
here?
now,
Right.
exactly. And I look at myself now and I'm thinking, who the hell were you?
Right.
But there were lessons that I had to learn and lessons that I had to teach him as well. And lessons
Mhm.
he had to teach me how to stand up for yourself, how to say no and mean it, how to walk away and mean that and stay out of it. And I think those are the things that helped the Buddhism that Tina got into. That chanting helped calm her spirit and focus her mind on no. If you remember in the movie too, every time she would chant, he would turn up the music louder and louder to drown her out. Because that beauty, he hated hearing that. He hated hearing the calm that she had. And over time, she was like, she got louder and louder because he got louder. The louder he got, the more he turned. So that strength is what I think Buddhism is. Like you said, wisdom and courage. For you, that's what it is for you. For me, it would be wisdom and power. Knowing that I'm capable of doing this by myself, because I'm still scared. I never wanted to be outside of EnVogue. I didn't want to be out of the group. The girls pushed me out. They kept Terry for doing the same exact thing that I did. But here, we got to kick Dawn out though. We're going to keep Terry, even though she did the same exact thing as me. Craziness. But I was scared to be out on my own. Yeah.
And this is something to consider. It's like, in preparing for this, something I always remember, I heard somebody say it a long time ago, was that all good is punished. Like when you're doing something, just for whatever the reason,
all good is punished.
Yeah. It's almost like an attack, and it's kind of like, you have to get to the point where, and this is something I've been, I work with young people, and I work with young people, and my husband and I have talked about it a lot of times, about when every decision that you make, particularly when it involves other people, you have to ask yourself, am I being loving, or am I trying to be loved? You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, and when you do that, it's kind of like, okay, what's the most loving thing I can do in this situation? Walk the hell away.
Because are you being loving, or are you being loved or being loving? So the loving part is for them. The being loved part, is for your ego, right? Are they loving me?
The ego is the one. The ego is the part that wants to. And I'm just going to say, because you brought it up, the ego is what keeps you coming back. Like, you're going to go back to the group, and they're going to do this, and they're going to see your value. And it's kind of like, and it's not that people don't see it. I think people don't want it to exist. Bell Hooks talks about that.
I agree.
She talks about the movie Amadeus. I don't think it's that people don't see your power and your strength. I think they don't want it to exist. And it's like, well, how dare you have, well, be quiet, sit down.
Exactly.
It's kind of like, no. So you have to make sure that the ego is not driving the bus. And the ego is the one that's scared and wants to be loved. And if I say this or do this, these people will do this. They'll see me for this. They'll see how great I am. And they're going to see it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, it's not our job to convince people to see it. It's like I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about respect or something. And I said, well, I'm going to stop you right there. And I said, either you respect a person or you don't. I said, so me having to jump through hoops to get you to act right.
Exactly.
In hopes that you'll begin to respect me. I'm like, either you respect people or you don't,
That's right. Absolutely.
And this is like when you talk about a project or working on something. It's like I'm learning that the more I do stuff on the internet, the more I do projects, I'm not really interested in having multiple conversations about things.
Right.
And it's kind of like you see it or you don't see it, right? And if you don't see it, that's fine.
Exactly.
And maybe this isn't something we should be doing together. Maybe I should.
Yes.
Maybe I should trust myself to know, okay, I need to go over here. It's like I'm working with this young girl now who I'm working on this documentary film, and I did the treatment yesterday. I'm working, and I couldn't figure out how to do.
Oh my God.
I was like, okay, well, I don't know anything about editing. I don't know that much about producing, but I have this idea. And the little voice kept saying, just keep going. You'll get the parts you need.
It'll come to you.
Somebody will show up.
Means will come to you. Sure.
This girl who was in my film collective said, oh, you want somebody to do that? Here, call her. And then I called her. And we started working together, and she finished. I sent her maybe 7 videos, and she finished them all in less than a week. And then we did a contract. We wrote it up because I thought it was like, I'm not going to do. Part of it is I'm around people now who say, if you're going to respect yourself as an artist, you need to handle the business part of it. So you need contracts. You don't just give your stuff. And I was like, and the first time
Heck
somebody said that
yeah.
to me, I wrote a feature film that I sent to a friend of mine back in New York. I used to live in New York. And my instructor was like, well, do you have him? Is there a contract? Like, are you just giving your
An
word to people?
NDA, at least
And
an
he said,
NDA
yeah.
or
And he said, so what happens if somebody buys this feature and you make all this money and they try to sue you? And I was like, well, I haven't thought about that. And he said, you need to think about that. He said,
yeah,
my goal is for you and everybody in this collective to be professionals, to make a great deal of money, and to put really good stuff out in the world.
sure.
And part of that is being professionals have contracts. This is what we're
Yes,
doing. This is what we're not doing by this time, and then you're done with it. None of this loosey
exactly.
goosey. Well, we were pals, and this is how I was approaching it. I was like, well, he
Everybody's,
wouldn't do. I was like, he wouldn't do that. I've known him forever. We used to do Shakespeare together, and the teacher was like, okay. And she was like, okay, well, that's great, but what happens if somebody buys this or Netflix takes it to series, and now you have access to all this money, and this
yeah,
person comes to you and says, well, I co-wrote it. And I was like, I hadn't
yeah.
thought about
The thing is,
that.
and she's absolutely right. A lot of times we start out as, especially with my name, I'm like, people start out, oh my God, I love you. I just want to work with you and I'll do it for free. And free turns into a lot of times, well, remember what I did for you. Remember what that was. So you have to have a contract to understand you reached out to me. I start from there. This person reached out to me on this day, on this particular social media or via email, and said that they wanted to do this with me. And after that, we agreed to work together. And so I'm constantly having to, because everybody starts out happy. Everybody starts out, oh my God, I love you so much. But then it turns into, like I said, remember what I did for you. I'm like, oh my gosh. So you weren't sincere. Now you see that there's money to be made. You want, and so I always tell people, I need you to have an agenda. I need you to have a reason that you want to work with me. It can't just be because you love me so much and you love EnVogue. I need you to have, because that will keep you honest. That'll keep you working towards a goal. It'll keep you working towards, you know what, I want this to work. So hell yeah, I got some skin in the game as well. And I want this to work because, you know, not just because I love Dawn, but because I want to win too. I want to be successful financially as well. I want to, you know, you want them to have a reason. I don't want them to come to me and just, oh my God, I just love you. I just want to work for free. No, that turns into some shit later. So it's just.
Yeah, it always does. And I just had this conversation Friday with some people about, I said, well, the point we were going on and on about something and something. I said, well, here's the bottom line. The bottom line is absolutely everybody on the planet has an agenda. The only problem is, well, if I'm thinking your agenda is this, because you haven't told me and I haven't asked this, but you really do something over here. And then I find out, yeah, like the 4 agreements, like you said in the interview, one of my favorite books on the planet. I love the 4 agreements. But it's like you make these assumptions about
listening to me. Goodness.
But you make these assumptions about, oh, okay, I'm going in this direction, and this is what I'm trying to do. And because I know you, or you're along for the ride, you must be doing this. You must have the same. And it's like, no, people don't. They have all kinds of reasons why they do what they do. You have to be really clear on the agenda and what we're doing here.
That's right.
And then be clear when it changes.
Because we're friends at first. We start out really cute and it's nice and oh, they wouldn't do that. And they love me and I love them. And it's, you let that money start talking, that's when people's real side comes out. And you're like, whoa, so where did that come from? I thought you loved me so much. I thought we were friends. I thought we were family. You got to have the paperwork. It's just business. You got to start with that first, you know?
Well, the older I get, and my birthday is next Sunday, the older I get, the more I demand and can only accept and totally require clarity. I don't like confusion. I don't like this gray shit, this maybe there. No.
That's right.
And I tell you all the time, the only time I've ever gotten in trouble in my life and ever gotten like really screwed up is when my yes didn't mean yes and my no didn't mean no.
Exactly.
But I was living in a maybe, like, well,
exactly.
And it's like, oh no.
All that wishy-washy in the middle.
So if you say yes or no, that clears out a whole lot of nonsense.
It sure does.
Well, okay.
Yeah. So transparency is what I say. I want everything to be transparent. Be honest with me and straight up. And I'm noticing too that when I introduce people to each other, like, oh, you know what? She's got a great idea. Maybe you guys can. it always turns into, they end up going off into the sunset with each other. And I'm like, wait, but we were doing a project, you know? So I have to stop being so nice with that as well, and stop giving away my contacts with people, thinking that they're just going to do their thing after they work on mine. I'm like, no, mine should be the priority. I didn't say you guys, I'm going to introduce you guys so you can go off and do your own thing without me.
Right.
I'm saying, let's work on mine and finish that project first, and then you guys can do whatever you want after that.
Right.
You know, let this be the priority, because that's where we all started. And then once we're successful with this, then you guys go do your own things. Hey.
Well, that's what I mean, that's what I've learned. Like I said, listening to, you know, your interviews and listening to other artists, and they talk about, you know, and I even say with my husband, because he does a lot of stuff. Like he and a neighbor decided they wanted to sell eggs. So we got 14 chickens here. So he goes out and gets the eggs every morning. And, you know, and it's kind of like, you know, okay. And the first thing I said when we started talking about it, I said, well, what are you getting out of the deal? Because you're going to build a coop. You're going to feed the chickens. You're going to get the eggs. What's she doing? Because,
right. Exactly.
And one of the things I've had to tell him, because he can do everything, one of the things I've had to get him out of the business of is agreeing to things. It's like, no, what are you? And I'll shut down many a deal in his house when people come in trying to get him to do stuff. I'm like, you're not doing that.
Exactly. You know, very good.
Like the tiny houses they're building. Like he built one, he had it in our driveway. Yeah. And people were coming by like, oh, I want to see this house, whatever. And so the couple of people who came by that he knew were very excited. And I told him, I said, well, tell her you need a $5,000 deposit before you lift one board.
Thank you.
That. She stopped coming over. She stopped calling. I said, well, see, she wants you to do that for free.
Wow,
said, no,
exactly.
That's why I'm here. You're not going to do that for free. So you're basically using the intellectual labor. You're getting somebody to do this project for you. And what do they get out of it?
Exactly.
You know, and
right.
I was like, no, you don't
very
need something
good,
to do just to have something to do. Something like, no. Same thing with the new person I'm working with. You know, I create a contract, and it's through email.
Right.
I'm going to do this by this date. You're going to do this by this date. This is when you're going to get paid. This is how much until X number of date. Please respond back with, I agree to all your terms. And then we go from there. So yeah, you learn.
Very good.
All right. So I'm going to wrap up so you can give you your day back. You can go listen to music with your folks.
No. I'm leaving the house once I'm done with this. I leave because I have to go work. I can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, talking about
Dawn,
work.
Did you feed the dogs? Dawn, this is I've seen this on TV. I'm like, Mom, OMG, you guys. The dogs have been fed.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I like doing that. That's my part. Because when I feed them, there's not a bunch of dog food in there. there's roast beef. There's you know what I mean? So they like when I feed them much more. And I'm like, leave that to me. That's my job. I'll do that while I'm here. So I'm good. You got, what time is it now? Have we done an hour already?
2:40. We did an hour and we're coming up with 2 hours. We're trying to wrap it up so we can get out of here. Well, so let me throw out a couple of things, a couple of comments, and a couple of things I'll get your opinion on.
Okay.
Very quickly, because I want, this is a compliment. This is from me to you.
Yeah, thank you.
In my, what is the word I'm looking for? Pantheon, I guess,
Pantheon, I like that.
Of Black female artistry and brilliance. My list, Josephine Baker, Eartha Kitt, Tina Turner, and Khalees. So those are I
oh my
see you
God.
in that vein. I'm just like, come on.
Oh my goodness.
When you guys were in Arsenio Hall doing My Lovin', and people are like, oh, Dawn looks like Marilyn. I'm like, no, she looks like Dorothy Dandridge. Come on, folks. Let's go.
My God.
I was like, come on, folks. that last pose she struck at the very end, that was Josephine Baker. Come on, folks.
Wow.
No history.
You know what? I love this so much, not just because they're beautiful women physically, but because they had strength. Josephine Baker fought against a lot of things at that time when Black people were not looked as human, as human. We didn't exist in the eyes of society. So for her to stand up and speak up for herself and then go over to France because they weren't having it here, she's like, I found a world of people that love me for me. My skin color has no bearing to them. In fact, they love my skin color because I am not like them. They love me because I'm different. And so she stood up and she couldn't have children. Her mother had her her tubes removed or something early on or something like that. When she woke up, she was literally infertile, not able to have children. So we have a lot in common. I haven't had children yet, and I keep saying that because I believe I will. I don't care, especially now that you brought me back to Buddhism. It's like we have a plethora of things to guide our lives, things that we can use. Yes, I'm 55 years old, because somebody's going to have a nasty comment to say. Doesn't matter. There's a beautiful couple in Africa that literally just had a baby last year. It's a Black couple, African couple. The woman is 65. Her husband is 67. She had a baby. They had a baby. They believed that for 40 years of their marriage that they were still going to have a child together, and they did. So it doesn't matter that she's on her way out and he's on her way. They wanted a child, and that's what God blessed them with. You know what I mean? So am I saying I want to be 65 and 67 years old when I have? No, I'm not.
No, but I think what you're saying is that you believe in making the impossible possible.
Absolutely.
Right?
You know, I think it was not Sandra Bullock and what's her name? Nicole Kidman. Both had babies in their 50s. So Nicole Kidman was 54, and I think Sandra was 52. So they're only a few years younger than me. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. So I'm not putting a number on anything. I meet the right man, and God has that in my books. And I got my Nam Myoho Renge Kyo going again, my energy, because that's all it is. You're putting it out in the world. And again, when we hang up from the Zoom, I want to talk to you about, when you have time, about literally how to utilize that energy and put it towards what I need.
Definitely. Because I mean, I say, I have used it. I'm struggling with something now at work, and I've been going over it in my head and going over it. And so about 2 days ago, I was like, why am I going over this in my head? I know what works.
Thank you.
Sit your ass down and chant and make the decision. I'm not going to fail. Right.
Exactly.
And who do I need to become? How do I need? Who do I need to become to make this happen? Well,
this is the thing. When we say that we're not going to do something, the universe only hears. The universe does not exclude words. Yes, so you can't say I'm not, or I don't, or I can't. Because when you say can't, all the universe hears is I'm going to fail. When you say I'm not going to fail, the universe hears I'm going to fail.
That's what we say.
Exactly. You change the words. Yes,
I'm gonna have a victory. So that is the goal. I decided that
I am already victorious, and thank God for it. When people pray, I'm like, I have to stop them sometimes while they're praying. I'm like, no, don't say, Father, I hope and I pray that you do this. You pray, act as if you already have it. Father, thank you for this. Thank you for giving me what you've given me, what I'm praying for. Thank you for this house. Or thank you so much that I have the money to pay my rent. Or Father, thank you that my health is good.
I want to say something about that too. Right?
It's in present tense.
Right, about the affirmations in present tense.
Yes.
With this interview, I decided in January I was going to do it. And the first thing I started doing is I started writing down questions I wanted to ask you. And I was like, we're going to pretend like this is happening tomorrow. I started writing down questions, and I was like, okay, I want to ask her about this. I'm going to ask her about Shaka Khan. And I just started pretending. I was acting as if. I'm like, this is going to happen. This was a couple of days before I saw you with the interview with Jason Carter. And I just decided, I was like, okay, what's stopping me? I'm stopping me. I said, I said, I'm going to move on this as if I know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, and keep doing that. And every time I get stumped with anything in my life, I'm like, okay, when I get stumped, it's like, okay, what goes through my head every time when I get
use
stumped,
your tools.
Like, okay. Yeah, it's like I get stumped and I think, okay, you've been stumped before. How do you get unstuck? How do I unstick
exactly?
Myself?
Yes.
How do I remember? Okay, I need to tell the truth about why I'm doing what I'm doing. Am I clean about it? Am I clear about it? Am I hurting anybody? Am I hurting myself? Am I, being honest about what if I knew what to do, what would be the next thing I would do?
Right.
We don't want to get into. I don't know what to do.
If
you knew, what would be the next thing?
This is so beautiful, Anthony, because right now, believe it or not, we're teaching people not so much about Buddhism. If they're interested, of course, that's great. But we're teaching people about law of attraction and how we, the words that we speak and the thoughts that we think create our lives. I've been saying this for 10 years on social media. I've had my probably now 12 years on Facebook first. And it literally that We have tools. We have God, whatever God is for you, to
Mhm.
call on him. Like we forget. Oh yeah. We don't have to just take it that we're given a president that, may or may not be in our corner. Most times they are not. I don't care if it's
Mhm.
Obama or the
Right.
skin color looks like mine. These people are not in our corner. We don't have to be victim to any of the stuff going on in society. We can speak up for what we want. Sometimes speaking up is a scary thing because
Mhm.
society doesn't want us to speak up, but I always will. I have a responsibility to my people and all people of
Mhm.
every race. As an artist, I have to speak up, and speaking truth to power is always scary.
Right.
But I do that because I don't care about the fear. I call myself, I was going to call my album years ago, Dawn of Arc, like Joan
Oh,
of
I
Arc,
like
because she spoke
that.
up, right? She
Right.
spoke up the truth, and I was going to call my album that. I still may, because I love her mindset. She didn't care that people didn't like that she had visions, that she was speaking truth to power. At that time, women did not.
Right.
First of all, if you're not a man and you don't have cojones like me, you don't even exist. White,
Right.
black, or any color. You're
Right.
a woman.
Mhm.
You're like the animals outside, the pigs and the cows.
Mhm.
You're good for one thing, and everything else you have to shut your mouth for. So I have always been this. So Joan of Arc, you can add to that list as well, of all those great
Okay.
women you spoke about, because
Mhm.
I love women that are powerful, that speak up, that are not so much I have to be like a man. Because I think there's a place for a man in the world. I don't think women should play football on an
Mhm.
NFL team.
Mhm.
You will get knocked the fuck out. You know what I mean? It's like you cannot. He is
Yeah.
literally 6'5".
Right.
There's no way that you, as a woman who is, even if you're 6 foot or 5'11", that you can battle that man. You may be
Mhm.
big, but there's just certain things that I think that women. But I think that as human beings, we are capable of all of it, all of it. And I
Yeah.
just want to end with that. I want to.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, because you may have another question, one more
Oh, no,
question,
no, I
but
was just no, I was just saying that. Yeah, I agree, and I think my thing is always, I think we many times, I'm always referring to our culture as one of
mhm,
like domination and coercion, right? So
mhm,
it's like if you're this, you're in this box. If you're this, you're in this box. And
yeah,
I prefer, and it's funny, I get into um I get into trouble sometimes and people look at me sideways because I'm like,
mm,
no, I look at everything like a collaborative effort. Like if you
right,
have more, if you and I are working on a project, right, and
mhm,
you know more about it than me,
right. You
why
have
the hell am
knowledge.
I arguing with you about it, about what I think?
Thank
If you
you.
I don't have the information, you know about that, I don't. And it's kind of like
Exactly.
it's always to me, it's always kind of like figuring out somebody described it to me years ago as like if two people, if we're hooked at the hip and we're climbing a mountain, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you're leading because you can see
Yeah,
where we need to go and I have to
exactly.
trust you. And
Right.
sometimes I'm in the front and
Ooh,
I'm pulling you up and saying, okay, move your left foot up, not your right foot. And I think,
wow.
and I feel like, there's a book I think we need to get that they talked about how the internet is a very feminine energy
Energy.
because of the collaborative things that people can do with the internet.
Okay,
As
I like
opposed to
that.
one person. It's like what you and I are doing, right? This wouldn't have happened 20 years ago because there was no
Exactly.
social media, there
No,
wasn't the internet.
no,
It would just been, oh
no.
yeah, I saw her on it, Arsenio, and that'd have been the end of
Exactly.
it.
That was
but
it. Or
but
Ellen, or well,
right,
not even Ellen back then. It was David Letterman or Jay
right.
Leno. Yes.
But
Wow.
things have changed, and I think my take on it is okay. There's enough for everybody. And they always say
Yes.
that that's a quote from Gandhi. The world has enough for everybody's need, but not everybody's greed. And that's
Exactly.
why we
Oh,
get in
wow.
trouble. So,
Yes. But I think
I'll,
that's changing though, Anthony.
mhm,
I really think the world, because it is so small now, because of the internet bringing everybody together, I think they're realizing, they're waking up. I see just an awakening right now. I really, really do. And it has nothing to do with Buddhism
mhm,
or even law of attraction. I just see people are like, no, I know that I'm white. Little white kids are seeing how President Trump behaved, or President um, Biden, I call him Blinden, but you know how they're behaving. Politicians and old white people are behaving, and they're just like, you know what? I like black people. One of my best friends, or my boyfriend, or girlfriend, or a significant other is black. I don't feel the same way that my ancestors felt about black
mhm,
people. I don't agree with slavery, and I don't agree with how people are treated less than because of their skin color. I don't like it. So, grandpa or great great grandma, you guys agree? You guys liked having known that your great 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 grandmother had slaves? So, you know what I mean? They're waking up to seeing
Hmm.
things, and we're coming together as a world the way we're supposed to. We're
I
waking up
agree.
to taking care of ourselves holistically now,
Hmm.
you know? So I really believe that things are changing for the better. I know it seems crazy because we got COVID still and these stupid freaking vaccines and all this bullshit about, you know, wearing masks and cutting off our connect. I have a screenshot of a woman with a mask on, and it's got a chain. I'm sorry. It's got the things around the ear to hold the mask on. And then she's got a lock. Like, and it's, in other words, we're locking your ability to communicate with each other through these masks. Because
Hmm.
when we talk as human beings, we look at each other's mouths directly,
Hmm.
not at each other's eyes. And now it's like, and so in other countries, how they cover women's faces with a
Hmm.
veil, that's what they're doing right now with these masks, covering our ability to communicate and speak up and think for ourselves. So I'm like, okay, Father, I have to really put on strong prayers, because if I look at the world through the eyes of CNN or
Oh
MSNBC
yeah,
or
you
Fox, it's
even when you can't
fearful.
leave the house, you won't because you'll
It's
be so
fear-based.
like, oh yeah, everything is. And it's funny. I'll leave you with this. It's funny is you posted something on Twitter
Yeah.
that I actually sent my mother. It's a screenshot, and it said if prescriptions worked, you would need a refill. And
Thank you.
I sent it to my mom, and she's
Oh
like,
my
"Oh my
God.
gosh,"
Oh
because I
my
was telling
God.
her that was the impetus behind me doing this documentary
Oh
about
my
Black men's
gosh.
health, because I turned
Anthony.
52 last year, and they wanted, they put me on blood pressure medicine, and I was very upset about that. And everybody
Yes,
that
you
I've
should
talked
be.
to about that, they were like, "Well, what's the big deal? You're lucky. They usually would have started you on that 10 years ago." And I remember telling
Wow.
people, "That's your response, like that."
Exactly.
And I was like, "Oh." So then I started
You
research.
can lower your own blood pressure naturally. I keep telling my parents, my
It's
great grandmother
flaxseed
died.
oil.
Exact that and a few other things out there. But my great grandmother died from hypertension, high blood pressure. My
Hmm.
grandmother died from hypertension, and they were all taking medication, mind you.
Hmm.
So if you're taking this medication, isn't it supposed to lower it, and eventually you wean yourself off of that medication? My ex-husband and I were in Canada, and we went in. He used to have what do you call it, AFib, so his heart would
Hmm.
go out of rhythm. And he went to the doctor there, and we were thinking, oh my God, how much is this going to cost? We don't have the money. And he went in and he said, I can't really pay. They said, you don't pay for healthcare here. First of all, you don't pay. But we're going to do a full workup on you, young man, because you're too young to be you're taking COVID. Why are you taking COVID again? And he said, well, my doctor prescribed it. He said, do you know that this is like, if you were 80 years old or 82 or 80, I would give you COVID. Kozar. I'm sorry, I said COVID. Lord have mercy. Kozar.
Hmm.
But you should, he said, but if you were my artist, really, Dawn, if you were my patient, I would wean you off of this stuff because it's way too strong for you.
Hmm.
It's not regulating your heart at all. So there's a lot of stuff that we take because the doctors tell us to take it,
Hmm.
not because we research and think about it for ourselves.
Right.
So I'm wide awake, and I think that the world is waking up as well. I really do think that things are changing for the better. I know it seems crazy, but I have faith in what God is doing right now. I really do.
Well, we're in a big, almost like a cosmic shift. It's like, you're
Yes.
watching things, and it's kind of like
Well, we
you can
went
look
from
at last,
Piscean.
yeah.
I'm sorry, but I gotta say this to add to what you're saying. We went from the Piscean age for decades. I think 400 years we were in the Piscean age, and now we're in the Aquarian age, the age of Aquarius.
Hmm.
And Aquarius is about water. Water is reflection, like a mirror. So that's
Mm.
why Hollywood is being exposed for all the bullshit that they've done. The politicians are being exposed for all the bullshit they've done. It's really coming full circle.
Hmm.
It's yin and yang. It's all of that
Right.
stuff. It's really, really waking up. So I am so happy to talk to you today,
Oh, thank
Anthony. I
you.
mean
Thank
that with
you.
all sincerity, because
Thank you.
you're wide awake. You get it. We have to have another conversation too.
Yes.
I'm getting ready to start a
Yes.
podcast of my own. And I
Okay.
want you as a recurring guest because
Oh,
you are
wow.
wide awake.
Okay.
I do. I mean
Okay.
that. There's a few people that I've done interviews with, a woman named
Mhm.
Jacqueline, and I want her on my show as well. She's incredible. She was put into this, she's a Black woman. She was put into the child, sold into the child sex trade. at 7 years old or 6 or
Mhm.
something crazy, 5.
Mhm.
How did she survive that? Why is she not angry at the world? How come she didn't use her anger to turn on men and destroy
Right.
them because of that? Like, you
Right.
know,
Right.
that power to be something more in her life is because she could have been on drugs. I would have been messed up. Most likely, I would not have been because I'm stronger than that. My mindset would have been exactly what I've gone through with EnVogue, and I came out stronger because of it. Would have been my mindset with that too. But I want her on because she tells the story from point of view. She's not saying, well, if I was in the child sex trade, this is what I would do. No, she was in it.
Right.
So she talks about crystals. She talks about not tarot cards, because I talk about tarot cards. It's not demonic like people think either, but you're much deeper than the average person that I talk to. So I love talking to you. And we
Oh,
have
wow.
to,
Thank you.
yo, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having, and thank you for searching for me.
I was determined. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. And I knew, like I said, and as I told my mother Friday, I know my rhythms and how the universe works well enough to know that when I'm going left, if everybody around me who should know better is acting crazy and saying, well, why are you
Exactly.
doing that? That means I'm in the right direction.
Exactly.
Keep going. That means
Wait a minute.
move
Wait,
another
wait.
foot,
Okay.
take another step, another step,
Anthony, I have gotten so many haters, as I said,
Mhm.
and it is so beautiful. You said this before. You said that when they told you Dawn is difficult and all that stuff, you said they must know me, and I am I'm telling the truth because of what they say.
Mhm.
When they say that I'm, oh, she's difficult, she's a problem, or I heard this and heard that about her, it's because they know that I'm telling the truth. And so what you just said, when people tell you, no, don't do that, and it's not this and this and that, that's because you are onto something. And I am right now, confirmation with you saying that I am in the right lane. That the road less traveled is the road I should be on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, the other one is crowded with a bunch of people complaining and talking about what they're gonna do, and one day,
and why they can't, why they
right.
can't do it, why it's not gonna work, why, and I'm busy like,
And why you
okay, all
shouldn't
right,
do it, right?
yeah, I'll see you guys. Bye-bye. Yeah, you're going past me, and I know this is difficult. I know I'm on this road by myself, but it's all good. And I'm really not alone. That's the thing. We have the universe, we have God. We talk in Buddhism, you know this, the Buddha gods. And it's not to say, because when people hear that, oh my God, no, it's not in that way. But I think that whatever God means for you, that's what God is to you. So
and I
what is it?
personally believe if you keep moving, if you continue to move, right, you'll
Mhm.
always find exactly what you need
Thank
to
you, because
move
you're
to the
having
next thing.
faith.
Right.
Taking
You
one,
will
what is
find
it?
people who say, oh, you want to do this? I can help you with that.
Exactly.
Or I
Martin
know
Luther King
somebody.
said, Martin Luther King said, take the first step. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. And that faith will lead you to the next thing. That is you having faith in God. God will lead everything to you that you need. So
That's
this
what
was
I've
a
done over the years.
brilliant,
Oh, thank
brilliant
you.
conversation. I have done, like I said, you're my 88th or 89th interview, and I have done so many, and I've had a great time with everybody. But there's some that stick out more than others. You know what I mean? And yours is one of them today. And I thank you for that. We have to talk more. We have to stay connected.
I
Okay.
want to end on this note. We will definitely stay connected on this note. Tell everybody about GLAMM because I'm so excited
Oh
about
my
this.
gosh.
Because
GLAMM is my girl
anything with
group.
David Bowie and
Yeah. So GLAMM was a movement back in the 70s, and it was a fashion movement. And it was just before punk rock, because punk rock was more 80s. GLAMM was more 70s. And it was rebellion. It was rebellion. It was like, I'm not going to dress like my mom and grandmother in the 50s and those big, beautiful dresses they had, but I'm going to do my own thing. And yes, I'm a guy, but I'm going to wear a little lip gloss. And I'm going to, so Mark Bolan from T-Rex and Kiss, Kiss and David Bowie. And then you had these Black women named LaBelle. Patti LaBelle and LaBelle
with those suits
coming out with exactly same thing that Kiss would wear. They could exchange, like, you want to wear this? You cool? Okay. And it was like that. So that's what I want to name my girl group. It's GLAMM, just to be different. But GLAMM nonetheless. GLAM or GLAMM. GLAMM. And GLAMM is a girl group that they're gonna sing like EnVogue harmony wise. They're gonna dress like LaBelle, and they're gonna play instruments like Climax. Because that's one of the things I regret that we couldn't do. We couldn't play our own instruments, so we can really make music ourselves. I don't want them to be beholden to producers the way that EnVogue was. I want them to have their own mind and do their own thing. And yeah, if you hear a song from someone else, you can bring that in, but I want them to play their own stuff. And that is GLAMM.
And
I'm also doing my
when
book.
When they open for you, yes, I will get the book. And when they open for you, I will be right there.
Yes.
When you said that idea, I was like, when you said that, that sounded right in my gut. I was like, yeah, that makes total sense for her to do that.
Thank you so much. To start a girl group.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, well, you have this, we'll come back and talk about it later, but I definitely want to talk about Don't Let Go, the single that you sang the lead on. Because, I remember the piano and the rock guitar coming in, and I heard, you were doing that riff at the beginning, and I was like, the first time I heard it, I was like, okay, here we go.
Yes.
And I want to talk later about, I didn't know, and this is once again something I didn't know. I didn't know, I heard you said in another interview that they split the lead between,
Cindy and me on the first verse, because I had sung the whole thing, and then they came in and Sylvie was trying to kick me out the group. So they were like, we have to be fair, so let's put the other girls on the verses as well. I'm like, okay, that's fine. It'd be great, because we hadn't been seeing, we had a small hiatus in between albums, so it just makes sense. And they tried it, and he was like, let them try, because they're not going to be able to do it like you, and they didn't.
Right. And I have to say, this is, and all of you guys sing your asses off. And I saw you in Detroit 2 or 3 times. I lived in Detroit.
Wow.
But I have to say, like, that song, I remember listening to it on the radio. This is because it's that long ago. And
it still plays on the radio.
After your part, I would turn it off, because I couldn't figure out why because I always thought, and this is not to cast aspersions on anybody,
no, not at
but
all.
it's, to me, that was your song from beginning to end. And I could never figure out, like, well, what did that, and it was almost like, until you said, I saw you in an interview a couple of weeks ago, until you said that they went in and said, we're going to add them, they're going to do the lead. I didn't know you could do that. I thought the lead was the lead all the way through. I didn't know that.
No.
Okay, well, if you're the lead,
this is before we actually, this is while we were recording it.
Okay.
And it wasn't solidified that I was singing lead. It could have been, but because the record company was trying to do dirt behind my back, they wanted to take me off the lead, because I had already sung the whole thing. So what you hear now is exactly what was initially done. And then they didn't even have to delete me from the second half of the first verse. They just put Cindy on and let her try it too. So I have to tell myself that we should be more than just friends. I know you think that if we move too soon, it will all end. That was me first. And then Cindy comes in. I live in misery when you're not around, and I won't be satisfied till we're taking those vows. And then we go into, there'll be some love making, heartbreaking. So that's how they tried to do it. Just split the verse. It didn't work. And then they did the same thing with Cindy and Terry and Maxine on the second verse. Didn't work. That was God in my corner. You guys are trying to do dirt to her. Oh, that's not going to work. She's going to sing lead on the whole thing.
Yeah, I know, and I always wondered about that. And like I said, when you said that, I thought, oh, wait a minute, you could do that. And then I went back and started listening to other songs. And
you can understand.
I can hear you on whatever.
Right.
And I can hear you on this another song, Strange, from the first album, Strange. Your suspicions are killing me.
Oh my gosh, I haven't heard that in years. Exactly. It really isn't clear what the story is, my dear.
They're going for the Nina Cherry song. I got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Wow.
It has been great. It's been wonderful.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that means we have to do a part 2. That's what this means. Yeah. My dog is looking at me like, he's like, if you don't take me out, I'm gonna pee on this floor.
I should go check her out. We have a brand new puppy, and she is, we got her in October, and she's everywhere.
Yeah, she is.
All right.
That's her energy. Yeah, she runs the house. Okay, you know that. Yeah.
And the poor
Anthony, my pleasure today. Absolute and total pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Seriously.
Back at your mind too. I will
Yes.
talk with you very soon. How can people find you? Where are you going to be? How can they, what's your contact info?
Yeah, my Facebook and Instagram are Dawn Robinson Diva. And then my Twitter is Dawn Robinson. Just Dawn Robinson. Actually, there's no underscore or anything. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
right.
Well, thank you very much. Much
You're
love. Take
welcome.
care of yourself. Keep your hands washed.
Thank
Keep
you.
that keep that oil of oregano going and the black
Thank you. That
oil.
elderberry, that garlic, oh,
Yes.
apple cider vinegar. You know what?
Mhm.
Literally, I have felt a couple of times I come in the house and I'm like scratchy throat, I'll cough a few too many times. I'm like, you know what? Apple cider vinegar kills it. And I mean right away, 2 tablespoons, it is done. I can sleep for the rest of the night, no coffee. Because it's not to say that that stuff isn't out there. COVID is somewhere, but they ain't gonna get me with it. So I'm like, yeah, it kills it. And I'm
Sometimes
telling everybody.
I have a potion that I whip up that somebody gave me a recipe for. It's apple cider vinegar, honey, cayenne pepper, garlic, and something else, and
That's good.
lemon juice.
Oh,
And
wow.
you make a little of it, and you pour hot water in it. And I don't know what.
It's like a
I had
tea.
a really bad cough a couple of years ago, and when I was taking the initial sip, like the first, I could feel my chest opening up literally as it was going
Immediately.
down. It was like it was almost like you could.
Putting
It
a
was almost
drop
like,
of soap and water. Yeah.
right. I
And
could
oily
literally
water.
feel. I was like, this is already working, and I haven't even finished drinking the cup.
Immediately.
So
Isn't that
yeah, that
something?
stuff. Yes.
Well,
Must
cayenne
be
pepper
listening.
is great too. It's like, that's really good for removing, I hate to be fecal matter from your colon. It removes that stuff. It gets the hard built up, we don't eat well enough these days. We really
Right.
don't. So your mom is probably healthier than any of us because she's so vegan. But anyway, I gotta let my dog out.
Okay.
Good to talk
I
to you,
will talk
Anthony.
to you soon. Let me know about the
Yes.
podcast. I will bring you back for part 2. Thank
Yay.
you. Thank you. Thank
Got
you.
it.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, love.